What's up, guys? So welcome back to another video. We're going to be starting a new series called Dile's Diaries, and it's going to just be me kind of going over any leagues that I go to, challenges, cups, stuff like that. Just kind of reviewing my matches, talking about what I can improve on, and, you know, just kind of trying to shift my brain into that competitive mindset out of the casual mindset that I've been following. But this week, it's going to be interesting because we're actually going to be doing TCG and not VGC. Now, I'm going to get into all the specifics a little bit later. I just want to be clear, I'm still playing VGC mainly. It's just that they just announced that they're actually taking a break from VGC locals until September. So that just means that VGC is basically dead in my area, and I'm not really prepping for Worlds. So I'm just going to play casually, but I'm just like, there really isn't much for me to do other than like limitless tournaments, I guess. And I still enjoy that social aspect of playing at a local scene, seeing my friends, stuff like that. TCG, obviously, that starts back up in July. And, you know, I haven't actually played in person since the rotation happened. So I figured, listen, I have an open Friday. Let me go check out this local that I've been wanting to go to for a while. I've never been there. And I decided I'm just going to roll up with a cool deck that I think is cool with like very minimal practice and just have fun. So that's what this video specifically is going to be about. But I'm going to be doing these also for VGC as well. It's just, you know, TPCI is making us wait until September to do that. So let's just dive into the weekly itself, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the rotation and on the deck itself after. So I played Eevee box this week. I played the deck list that you can see on screen right here. However, I actually started the league off with a 1-1 line of Pidgeot. Don't tell anybody that I changed. I had been practicing with that Sylveon in my deck. However, the night before the league, I was watching a video and I saw what a 1-1 line of Pidgeot could do. Now, my issue with the Eevee box was always that it kind of feels a little clunky anyway, and if you don't get the start that you need, it just feels like it falls too far behind. I got a little greedy, and I decided, I'll just try the 1-1 line of Pidgeot. I love Pidgeot, and after the first game happened, and it was such a donk, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need Sylveon. I also think Sylveon is the key in the Eevee box matchup. If anybody has any other ideas, please let me know, but I'm pretty sure you need Sylveon in the matchup, which we do play against. Once I realized there was a lot of Eevee box in the room, I was like, yeah, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but like, I'm not going to hit the higher tables anyway, so who cares? So I ended up switching out the 3 cards for 1 or 2 Sylveon, then I added in a second electric energy and something else. I don't remember what, but anyway, let's just dive into it. So round 1, I hit that Eevee box mirror. This is when I still had the Pidgey and the Pidgeot in the deck. I lost the coin flip. I went second. I already knew it was going to be bad because I'm going second and I'm starting Clefairy EX with absolutely no way to get to Fan Rotom, Hoot Hoot, Eevee. It was really bad. So I start Clefairy, attach pass. My opponent had just started with the Fan Rotom. They got the 2 Eevees, the Hoot Hoot, the Area Zero. I mean, there was not a card that this guy didn't have access to on turn 1. I'm like, this is going to be a donk, but let's just see. He got the Evolution with the Flareon. Turn 2, he got the Crispin, the Crystal. I was able to play an Eevee on my turn, so even though he knocked out my Clefairy turn 1, I was able to at least live another turn to see. I did end up getting a Crispin for 2 on the Eevee. I think it was an Eevee EX, actually, now that I remember. So I didn't immediately die. I believe he flame charged, actually, the first turn, so I didn't lose the Eevee. Something like that happened, basically. So I lived an extra turn, but by the time that I got to it, he knocked out my Clefairy, which was on the bench, and I just lost. So, love when Eevee Box does that. I just ended up passing a couple times, pass, attach. That's my issue with the deck. We'll get into that in a little bit. Round 2 was a no-show, so I actually was 1-1 at this point. I was talking to some people around the league, and it seems like Eevee Box is actually pretty popular. Seems like there's a lot of Garchomp players, so I actually ran into Garchomp for my round 3. So now that I'm starting to kind of pick up what my local scene's playing a lot of, I can kind of decide what I want to show up the next time I go to a league. Yeah, Garchomp, I mean, I feel bad, like, Eevee Box kind of ruins Garchomp because I have that Leafeon. However, I'm only running the 1 Leafeon and the 1 Grass Energy. So if either of those are prized, not that it's impossible for Eevee Box to win, obviously, but it does make it a little bit harder. I still didn't start Fan Rotom or any way to get Fan Rotom, so gotta love that. We just ended up, unfortunately, starting with a really good hand. We actually had I believe I had the boosted Evolution, or Eevee, and I also had a Leafeon in my hand, so I didn't even have to go for it. I also knew I had Crispin and Crystal, so if I got Iono'd, this would have been bad. However, my opponent just kept, like, Arvening and trying to get set up, and I'm just like, I have my win con already, so it wasn't a big deal. I believe I also benched a Hoot. My opponent... Oh, I forgot to say, I did go first, so I kind of already had, like, not really the #1 best start, but I mean, I'm going first with Eevee box, and I have the Leafeon, and, like, the Crystal and the Crispin in my hand, so unless something happens, like, I'm gonna kind of run this deck over. My opponent did set up, though, 3 Gible, 1 Roselia, and a Power Rate, but no energy attach, and they started with a Spiritomb in the active. So, turn 2, I Crispin, Crystal, knock out the Spiritomb, take my first prize card. Honestly, I was trying to metagame a little bit, and I'm like, do I even knock this out, or do I wait? Because I didn't want to give them access to Counter Catcher, because I had my Hoot on the bench. But my opponent was definitely struggling, and was, like, very vocal. Like, it was a very casual match. We were kind of talking about how, like, the decks even play, and, like, I was giving her a couple tips, too. So, like, it was very casual, and I was like, I'm just not going to metagame, because I don't know... Like, okay, sure, you Counter Catcher up my Eevee, but, like, or my Hoot, which would kind of screw me, because I did have a Noctowl in hand. But then, I mean, I still have a Leafeon that has no damage counters on it. So, you know, I don't know. Anyway, so I just decided to take the knockout on the Spiritomb. And I also got a second Hoot and a second Eevee up that turn. So, now that I remember it, actually. So, it didn't even make a difference if they counter-captured it. Now that I'm thinking about it. So, anyway. Next turn, my opponent does get that energy attach. And they TM Evo. They evolve their Gabites. They also manually evolve a Roserade. So, I'm like, okay. If they happen to get another energy and they get the Garchomp, this could be a little scary, because they also Iono. So I lose the Noctowl in my hand, and I believe I also have an Ultra Ball or something. So I'm actually a little nervous. If they're able to get the setup, I actually have nothing. But my opponent Arvins, or yeah, I believe they Arvined again. So as soon as I saw the Arvin go down, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I believe they promote another Spiritomb because they're trying to stall. I get my Flareon set up. If I remember correctly, what ends up happening? I think I just... Oh, I think, yeah. So I kill the second Spiritomb. On their next turn, they get the 2 Garchomps out on the field. But they still don't have the energy attach. Which, we'll talk about Garchomp on an issue, but this seems to be a reoccurring issue with this deck. And I think it's something that's keeping this deck from actually being good. So I just end up Noctowling for boss. Getting one of the Garchomps, so now I'm at 3 energies. Opponent still doesn't get an energy attach. They just kind of, they set up, I think they set up a second or a third Power Rate. They manually evolve a second Roserade. So they're basically set up to actually start winning. They just don't have that energy. So I felt really bad, but yeah, they just could not get set up. Then turn 5, I knock out the 3rd Spiritomb, I believe. I think they Iono this turn, though. I had a Noctowl in hand. They do Iono me down, so I'm down to, what, 1 or 2 cards at this point. Maybe I didn't knock out the Spiritomb. I don't quite remember what happened. But either way, they Iono me down, and then I just top deck boss, I think, for the win. So, it was something like that. The last couple turns I don't remember, because, again, we were just kind of chatting. And at this point, she had already given up. I felt bad, but it's like, what are you going to do? But this brings me to my point. I've been lightly testing Garchomp. I played a handful of games online, maybe 20 games total online. I like to do a lot of, like, sequencing practice just on my desk with myself. Just like, okay, I'm playing against Raging Bolt in my head. Like, how would I sequence against a Raging Bolt? Okay, how would I sequence against a Dragapult and stuff like that? You know, when can I expect things to be bossed up or whatever? So in my testing with that, I kept finding that I was just bricking with Garchomp. And it's really just because it doesn't have that acceleration with a lot of the lists that are currently out. I honestly think you need to find a way to run Crispin in that deck. I just, there isn't enough, you know, Earthen Vessel is not enough. Garchomp is just so good, right? For 2 energy, you hit for 260, and then with the 2 Roserades, I mean, you're hitting, what, 3, it's an extra 30 per, so you're hitting 320. I mean, that's just, it's such a good number that it hits, and it has free retreat on top of that. It's just, it doesn't have that energy acceleration. So I don't know if they're going to print something down the line to help it. I just feel like you need to find a way to run Crispin. And I hate to say it, but the easiest way is probably Monkey Dory. I don't think she was running any Monkey Dory in that deck, maybe one, but she definitely didn't play Crispin. So if she had gotten that Garchomp out earlier, I think at the point where I was at 3 prize cards at like turn 3 or turn 4, if she had killed that Leafeon, I had nothing. Like, I think I had an Eevee, but then I would have had to use so many resources to get a second Eevee out. The prize trade definitely would have evened up. So that's one thing I've just noticed with Garchomp that I think is holding it back. Could be other things, I don't know. I'm curious if you guys are playing Garchomp and you found a way to make it work, let me know, but that's just something reoccurring I keep finding. So I'm now 2-1 going into round 4. I knew that this was going to be the last round of my night, although I think there were a total of 6 rounds. I had to leave, so I kind of already went into this knowing that I was going to end after this, regardless of the results. So I ran into another Eevee box. I played against my friend Reese, who actually won the 1K tournament that I hosted a few months ago. So we were talking about actually feeling like we were going to end up matching against each other, but at that time I had lost my first match and he had a positive record, and I was like, I don't know. So we were kind of talking about Eevee box. Turns out he's also playing that. And he's like, but I don't want to tell you my tech against the mirror because we might play each other. And I'm like, I don't know, but yeah. And like secretly in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm pretty sure the tech is running the Sylveon. You have to go first. You have to get your Sylveon first up. And if you do get it up before your opponent does, like, you just win, right? Because you just Angelite. And then you hit. Angelite, hit. I mean, like, what is your opponent going to do, right? And I'm not running Blood Moon or Saluna, although I think that's something I'm considering running. But anyway, so we set up. Of course, what happens? I lose coin flip. I go second. So on his first turn, he gets the Rotom. He gets the Evolution Eevee. He evolves into... I'm sorry, he doesn't... Actually, I don't know if he got the Evolution Eevee. Actually, let me go back. He definitely had an Eevee in the active, and he attached a Psychic. Yes, now I remember. He attached a Psychic, and I'm like, okay, he's going the Sylveon route. We both were on the same page about that. But he got his Fan Rotom, he got the Hoot Hoots, he got a second Eevee out. I'm like, this is not going to look good because I started Clefairy. In my hand, I had a Clefairy. I had one Eevee. I had a Flareon. Then I had a Fire Energy and a Water Energy. A Turos. And maybe a Rescue Board or something. It was like something that like I wasn't going to use. And and a TM Evo. So it was like not a good hand at all. That's what I had. And I'm like, I can't get my Fan Rotom. I can't get out anything else. I mean, this is just... assuming he gets the Sylveon next turn, it's over. Like, it's just over. And we were like both laughing about that. Turns out he did have it. So turn 2, he obviously gets the Sylveon. And he gets the Crispin and the Crystal. And I believe he actually just attacks into Clefairy to get the damage out, which is the right call, right? Because why Angelite? Like, you're only going to remove one, and now you're putting me in a position where next turn you can Angelite me for if I get any Hoot Hoots or anything else, or if I evolve, and then just knock out the Clefairy the following turn. So, I'm already kind of in a checkmate position no matter what I do, but we decided just to play it out. It kind of made me think, like, do I evolve the Flareon and attach this turn? But I was afraid to evolve it because I was like, he's just going to Angelite it anyway. But at least if I evolve it, it stops him from attacking the Clefairy. So, in my mind, so I just went ahead, evolved it, and attached to put the pressure on him. But he made the right call and attacked the Clefairy anyway. So, now I'm in a spot where I'm like, I have to evolve the Flareon now. So I evolve it, I attach. So I have one energy on my Clefairy, I have one energy on my Flareon, which in hindsight was probably a mistake. It's hard to tell because it's like I either put the 2 energies on the Flareon and he Angelites it anyway. I mean, the 2 energies that I had, I didn't have a Psychic, so I couldn't put it on the Clefairy to attack with that. It was just like a loss-loss situation no matter what I do. Maybe the Flareon one was slightly more optimal, but I still had no way of getting the Clefairy out of the active. I didn't have a Nest Ball. I couldn't get to anything. He attacked. So then I top deck a Buddy Buddy, and that's when I get my 2 Hoot Hoots, and I'm like, he's just going to Angelite them, but at least it keeps me in the game another turn, so I put the Hoot Hoots down, then he Angelites them. Clefairy's still stuck in the active, but it doesn't matter because he just knocks it out and I have no bench. So what did we learn? We learned a few things. 1, Eevee Box Mirror, if you go first, and you get the Sylveon up, I mean, it's just GG, unless your opponent kind of goes crazy. If I had gotten 2 Buddy Buddies, maybe could have salvaged that with like some counter catcher shenanigans, maybe to stall, but I would have had to counter catcher up a Noctowl and like hope that they didn't have like an energy or something. But it was tough because it's like at that point, unfortunately with the Eevee box mirror, I think winning the coin flip is just way too important. And on top of that, if one person's able to set up and the other one's not, you just fall so far behind. And that's just my general issue with Eevee box as a whole. Like I said, I probably have about 10 games on Eevee box. I don't have a ton of practice with it. Oh, one other thing I forgot to say. Actually, this changes it a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. I totally forgot. I had a Wellspring Ogerpon on my deck. And the reason why I played it is because at that time, I think it was turn 2, he had no area 0 up. And I said, okay, I'm going to play the Wellspring. I'm going to attach 1 energy to it, which I believe was the water energy. And, yeah, because I attached the fire to the Clefairy. Now I remember. I attached the water energy to Ogerpon. When he knocked out the Clefairy, I actually did promote the Ogerpon now. I don't know if he had Shaman in the deck or not, but I'm like, Eevee box is not going to expect another Eevee box player to have the Ogerpon. I have it in there because when I play against decks that bench out and they don't play Shaman, because why would you expect an Ogerpon in Eevee box? Then at least I can snipe off and kind of get an early lead. Unfortunately, it just didn't matter because that's what he Angel-Lighted the first time. So it's a little bit different than how I explained it, but the same consensus happened where he Angel-Lighted, attacked, Angel-Lighted, attacked, and it screwed the whole thing up. So, anyway, going back into that though, I actually do like the Ogerpon tech in this because a lot of people just overbench against it, being like, I don't need the Shaman, or they'll discard the Shaman, and I feel like having that sob and then also having the bench snipe, maybe to take 2 early, like 1 or 2, like 1 prizers, or maybe if somebody wants to try to retreat to like survive an attack, I can just snipe it, and nobody's really expecting that. It's a tech that I saw from Harper, who posts on YouTube. He has a new version of Eevee box now with the 1/1 Pidgeot line. I believe he cut the Ogerpon to make that work, but his older version had the Ogerpon, and I really like it because I feel like people just disrespect. People think they know all the meta lists. They don't know. It's a best of 1. They don't know. You can just catch them off guard. As long as you don't start the Ogerpon, then you're fine. I want to say this too. Even if you start the Ogerpon and they get a Shaman, I mean, you can still use Sob to kind of stall a little bit. You know, after all this happened, I dropped, you know, this round 4 went so fast. I had a few more minutes before I had to go pick up my boyfriend. So we played against somebody that's kind of new to Pokemon who just started like a month or 2 ago, came up to me and was like, hey, I've never played against Eevee box. Like, can we get a practice game in? So I walked him through how Eevee box worked. He's playing Grimmsnarl, which I actually only played against Grimmsnarl once with Eevee box. And so I was like, okay, I want to see how this matchup goes too. And it was interesting because he never got his Frostlass set up, unfortunately. Even though I would play a card and tell him how to counter it or what to do, he just couldn't find the cards that he needed. And again, unfortunately, it was just a little too late because I got Leafeon out on turn 3, I think. So I got not like a perfect start, but I got it out early enough where he still didn't even have the Grimmsnarl set up. And by the time the Grimmsnarl got set up, I just attacked. One thing though I'd have to watch out for is Morgrim for 2 energy hits for 70. Leafeon EX, I think, only has like 240. Sorry, 270. So if they hit me for 70 damage with the Morgrim, so a 1 prizer, I knock it out. The following turn, if they get the Grimmsnarl, yeah, all they have to do is just attack me once with the Grimmsnarl, and then at some point, Monkey Dory, you know, damage counters over, or attack me twice. It's kind of a weird trade, so even though the Leafeon could probably safely take 3 prizes, if the Leafeon dies, most Eevee boxes are only running 1. But yeah, I don't know. There's options. I just don't want it to get too clunky because that's my one issue. It feels very clunky and it feels very like top heavy. You either go really, really hard at the start or you just fall too far behind. Last thing I just wanted to say is that the reason I took the break from TCG in the first place a few months ago when I made that video was because I was not a huge fan of the Journey Together format. I was excited for post-rotation. Like, the actual format itself was fine. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Badoo, but it's also not, like, the worst thing ever. I just kind of felt like the second that they announced they were printing the Shaman card, it kind of just, like, it felt like they were taking away one of the good things that was happening in the TCG. We were also in a format where everything was getting one-shot, and I'm like, that's not really fun either. I just don't like playing a game where it's, you get 1,000 energies and then you one-shot things, like, I'm fine with like one or two decks having that, but like the meta became every deck doing that, except for Dragapult. When I saw Zacian come out, when I saw, you know, the rise of Monkey Dory and stuff like that, I'm like, actually the game's getting kind of hard because you really have to think multiple turns ahead and you have to really plan. So one, I think I overreacted a little bit, but also on top of that, I think I was getting drawn to VGC and I wanted to do more of those locals, but I didn't know that they were not gonna have locals again until September. So either way, point is, I'm going to be playing TCG this summer, and I'm sure I'll focus on VG more once that rotation happens after Worlds. Or we'll see. Maybe I'll fall back in love with TCG, and I'll want to just go crazy with that. I mean, Golden Go does look really fun, so we'll see. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching this. Let me know your thoughts if you like this type of content, or if you think my analysis is just trash. I'm also fine with that. But thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.